They lied. Not just a little misunderstanding. Not just a few innocent errors lost in translation. No, they completely reversed the truth. The God they told you about is not the God who actually exists. They gave you a God made in the image of man, emotional, angry, jealous, distant, or demanding. They gave you a God that fits inside a book, inside a religion, inside a doctrine. And then they told you, believe in this or be damned. But what if I told you? The real God is not what you were taught. What if the true source of existence has been hidden? Not because it was too far, but because it was too close. Subscribe to the True God channel. Here, we speak from enlightenment, not opinion. We reveal what the world has missed for centuries. This is not about what humans believe about God. This is about the God who exists, with or without belief. Okay, let's get one thing clear. The real God does not need to be invented, explained, or believed in. The real God is not a concept, not a religion, not even a being in the way you think of beings. The real God is the source itself, the power behind existence, the intelligence behind the cosmos, the life behind your breath. But those in power couldn't sell that. They couldn't control people with a God that was infinite, intimate, and everywhere. So instead, they made a trade. They traded the eternal for the historical. They traded the boundless for the controllable. They gave you a name, a face, a gender, a list of rules, and called that God. They lied because a false God can be marketed. A false God can be used. A false God can be feared. How the false God was invented. Let's trace it back. In the ancient world, long before temples and popes and printed scriptures, the mystics and sages knew something deeper. They experienced God not as a person, but as the ground of being itself, pure consciousness, timeless presence, infinite awareness. This wasn't about belief. It was about direct experience. They knew God, not as something out there, but as the very essence of reality itself. But then, human ego stepped in. Empires rose. Kingdoms needed order. Leaders needed loyalty. And religion became a tool, not of truth, but of control. They crafted stories, holy books, rituals, hierarchies. They turned God into a figure on a throne, separate from you, watching, judging, rewarding, punishing. Why? Because that kind of God keeps people obedient, keeps them afraid, keeps them asking for forgiveness instead of realizing their divinity. The result? Billions of people today pray to a God that doesn't even exist. Not because God isn't real, but because they've been taught a lie. The psychology of the lie. Understand this. People fear what they can't understand. So instead of inviting people into the mystery, they offered them certainty. Instead of awakening them to the truth, they gave them beliefs. Certainty feels safe. Beliefs feel familiar. But the truth? The truth is not safe, it's liberating. And liberation is dangerous to systems of control. They needed God to be external so that you'd never look internal. They needed God to be angry so that you'd feel guilty. They needed God to be above you so that you'd feel small. And over generations, the lie became culture. Culture became doctrine. And doctrine became truth. But truth isn't inherited. It's realized. Who the real God is. So now, let's speak plainly. The real God is not he or she. The real God is that which is beyond all opposites. Not a person, not a sky dweller, not a character in a book. The real God is the source you came from, the field of intelligence that sustains your every breath, the light that powers every sun and galaxy. You don't have to believe in this God. You are this God in expression. A wave does not need to believe in the ocean. It is already made of it. This is what they didn't want you to know. Because if you knew, truly knew, that the real God is not separate from you, you would never fear. You would never beg. You would never bow to lies again. You would walk in truth. Stand in power. Live in peace. They lied about the real God because the real God can't be bought, branded, or controlled. The real God cannot be turned into an idol or sold in sermons. The real God is not Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, or atheist. The real God is what is, now here forever. So the question is not, do you believe in God? The real question is, do you know what God truly is? Not what they told you, not what you were raised on, but what your soul knows, even now, beneath the noise of the world. You already know. That's why you're here. This is the true God. Not a belief. Not a theory. The real.